what I want to know is, how did you do it? What was your prospecting method? How did
Yeah.
you gain your clients? How have you grown? And how did you kind of scale in price point? Welcome back to the Real Estate Agent School podcast. I have a special guest with me today, Tane with the Digital Realty team. He is a killer agent, growing a team right now, has sold over 160 homes. Tane, thank you so much for joining me. How's it going?
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on as well, Cameron. Definitely excited to be on here. I've watched some of your content too, so it's super cool to be collaborating.
Yeah, man, full circle. I'm excited to chat with you. And so a lot of people are going to want to hear your story, hear your success, hear how you did it. And so I would love to start at the very beginning. Like always, what was it like jumping into the industry? Did you just go cold turkey? And what was the first couple of years like?
Yeah, so before this, I was actually in the IT industry as a director of support at an IT company for about like 6 years or so in New York. And now I'm over here in Virginia market. But I started as a part-time agent in New York after my brother, who's also a real estate agent, told me to check it out, something that I might be good at because I've been in the service industry my entire life almost.
Yeah.
And checked it out, and I did it for honestly 3-4 months as a part-time agent. Got the itch to essentially want to go full-time because I wasn't too happy at my other job, so what ended up happening was around towards the end of 2018, me and my wife decided, let's get out of New York, and then decided to buy a house down here in Hampton Roads, Virginia, which is like by the Virginia Beach Market. And we bought a house while I still had my job, and we moved down here in April 2019. Didn't really know anybody. The only person that we knew here at the time was my brother. And bought the house, and then essentially quit my W-2 job and came down here, moved over here, and then went to become a full-time agent in August 2019. And I say full-time, but it was I had other stuff on the side. So like, for example, during the nighttime, I'd be driving Uber and Lyft.
Nice.
And doing some digital marketing for agents actually. And that's how I kind of got into the real estate industry too. But from August 2019, just took off running, man. I didn't really know that what I was doing was like spectacular, I guess you could say. I just put my head down and I was just constantly working, right?
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse. My first year did 33 deals.
Yeah.
It was a little over 200K GCI. Solo agent as well. And I never, I have a team now, and it's interesting. I don't know what my thought process was just doing it solo, because the value in the teams are phenomenal. And then, my second year I did 78 deals, and then the third year was close to 60. And now, in it'll be my 4-year mark this upcoming August in 2023. And now I'm just building my own team. And also got a decent sized organization with LPT Realty, where I'm helping other agents grow their business, and I think it's like close to 60 agents there as well.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, man. That's pretty much for me on how that timeline went.
No, that's amazing. So first year, 33 deals, 200K GCI roughly.
Yeah.
Next year was 78 deals. And break down the volume for me. With 33 deals, what was your average price point? How much in volume were you at?
Yeah. So my market's quite interesting. Hampton Roads, most people know Virginia Beach. I'm actually like 45 minutes away from Virginia Beach, but I just say people know Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
I'm over here in Suffolk, which a lot of people don't know about. But my market's a little interesting in a way where you'll have literally down the block from where I'm currently at, we've got $85,000 homes, and then literally 5 more minutes away, you got $1 million property.
Oh,
So,
wow.
So it's interesting in regards to that. My first year, the volume that I did was about 10.7, I believe it was, something around that range. I believe it was between like the 10.5 to 12 million volume. Second year was close to 21 million in volume.
Wow.
And one of my goals from the first year to the second year, actually, because I noticed my average sales price in the beginning when I first started was about 210,000, 210, 230 range. And then I was like,
Mhm.
all right, that's another neat thing about this industry. You can kind of give yourself a raise by just simply doing what I'm about to share, which is I just bumped up my price. I was like, all right, I'm filtering out anything under 200,000 and I'm just going for anything above 200,000. My
Yeah,
second year, I brought my average sales price up to 275.
cool.
Um, and then my third year, I was like, all right, this plan's working. Let me actually increase my sales price even more. And I was targeting for people that were above 250 and up essentially. And then now I'm close to about $300,000 in average sales price. I
Wow,
think it's like 304 or 305, something like that. Um,
amazing.
yeah, so my third year, it's interesting because my second year where I did 78 units, I did close to 21 million in volume. And then my third year, I did close to 60, but my volume was around 19 something. So
Interesting.
it's like it was super freaking close. And
Yeah,
that concept of just let me bump up the price. And then, there's flaws of that as well as markets take downturns. Some of the higher end homes end up taking a little longer to sell.
for
So that's
sure.
one thing that I'm coming to find out as well. Like, all right, it is what it is though, because you're running around like a madman. If like when I was selling the houses that were 85,000 and 100, it's a lot of headaches as well that comes
Yeah.
along with it. So that's how the volumes kind of work out.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And the crazy part is I mean, 78 homes, excuse me, that's a
Yeah.
ton of work. Like that's
Yes.
crazy. And
Yeah.
so I mean, you're selling tons of homes and that lower price point. I mean, you're still cranking volume, but you have to do so much more work. And so by
Yeah.
increasing your volume, you're doing less work, but making the same amount of money, which is amazing. And so what I want to know is how did you do it? What was your prospecting method? How did
Yeah.
you gain your clients? How have you grown? And how did you kind of scale in price point?
Yeah. So my first year was like all in on FSBOs. Like
Cool.
my coach Brandon Mulrennan at the time, that's that FSBOs was really what what I got dove all in on. And I would say about like 28 something deals was from for sale by owners.
Cool.
And then some of them were, the other ones were from open houses and whatnot. But I didn't really work any buyers my first year. I do regret doing that because a lot of coaches preach don't work buyers and prefer it out. And what I've come to find out is the buyers, it depends. I think it depends on your life situation. Like a lot of these coaches are older too. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm younger, I'm young. I got the energy, I got the time, no kids, no family yet. I think if you're in that situation, you should totally work buyers because
Yeah.
those buyers eventually turn into sellers. I'm
Yep.
at the 3-4 year mark now where a lot of those buyers would be sellers right now. So that's one thing that I learned my first year. So my second year, I actually started tapping into buyers as well. Um, and the my second year consisted of FSBOs are the ones that I've sold the most out of. I think I've sold probably about 60 to 70 something FSBOs. And this is during like the crazy market where for sale by owners were still selling a lot when
Yeah.
and it's interesting because I was just getting the stragglers, like the people that weren't selling on their own and just staying top of mind, staying in front of them, and then I just were getting them. That goes to show you there's a good amount. For sale by owners, at least right now, seem to go down a little bit. But that second year, I added on expireds. I started doing expireds, and then I started doing circle prospecting.
Cool.
So majority of it was over the phone, and then just turning into future businesses.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're
Open
just
houses.
making
Yeah,
calls.
yeah, making calls. And then my third year was similar. But then what I started doing was now I had enough data to start ruling out like certain lead sources. So I've went back and forth a couple of times, because I I keep track of how, what I'm closing. Expires, I only close like 12, I think it was 12 to 13 my entire, real estate business aspect. And I was calculating how much time am I spending following up with, trying to figure out
Yeah.
if I even have the right person. So I decided to cut them out
Cool.
for like 6 months or so. And then I decided to take them back on after some agents needed coaching with expires. And I was like, all right, let me just take them back on. And then now
Yeah.
they're out again. So I just focus right now on circle prospecting, FSBOs, and door knocking.
There you go.
I started doing door knocking, but it's more of door knocking around my listings
Cool.
and neighborhoods that I'm trying to get into price point wise, where I'm sending out mailers, right? Things like that.
Yeah.
Um, and the brokerage I'm with, LPT Realty, I don't know if you heard of it or not. But that's, I tried door knocking in the beginning when I first got here, but then, I just found the lazier way, which was cold calling. So because I've done door knocking in the past for a marketing, pretty much I did door to door for a power home remodeling, which is like a roof and window company.
Cool.
And I did really well, but I was kind of burnt out from it because those were literally where I was door knocking from 10 to like 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that's a grind.
So that's where, but I started adding door knocking back on recently because LPT Realty, the brokerage I'm with, they give you like all this marketing material, like that's super easy to get ready to go. That's one thing I always procrastinated on, is printing out the marketing material to go door knocking.
Yeah.
But I think for agents out there that are listening, don't, I got overwhelmed. I think my second year when I was doing the 78 deals, and I was like, I got kind of burnt out at a certain point. But I also realized I got burnt out because I had too many things going on, like pillars wise, like all over the place. And what I've come to find out now is like, you can do really, really well with even just one pillar if you just freaking go all in
For
and
sure.
figure out how you can go deeper. And then you're less overwhelmed because you don't have so many stuff on your plate. And it just comes with the abundance mindset and you starting to see it more and more, right? So nowadays I'm doing the circle prospecting, FSBOs. I'm sending out mailers to the farming area that I'm where my office space is at. And then I'm going door knocking in this area. And then I started joining a networking group now. So I'm trying to figure out ways, because this cold call and door knocking thing, it's, I don't know about you, but at least for me, I do it because it just brings the results. But I don't enjoy doing it.
Of course.
So, that's where I'm finding out these other methods like hosting client events, like networking groups where I'm like, all right, there's numerous ways out there to get business without having to rely heavily on just initial cold calling. And, that's where the circle prospecting is key, because you can build up a database, and same thing with the door knocking, you build up the database, right? So that's one thing that I did learn is, my first year, I didn't build up a database really, and I didn't work that database. Second year, I started realizing how important that database is and started implement stuff to nurture that database. And third year was like, all right, I'm really going to go all in on this database, because now I'm seeing the consistency of, just people that I talked to 3 years ago, they're converting, right? So these are just, and it takes time. You sometimes have to be patient. Some people reach out and they're comparing themselves to like agents like myself. And then I'm like, all right, cool. What do you have going on? And they're like, oh, I'm stock trading. I'm stock trading 3 hours a day. I'm doing, mortgages here and there. And I'm also doing real estate. I'm like, well, that's why you don't have the same results as me. Like you're spread out. I'm literally just going all in on real estate.
For sure.
So I think everybody's in different chapters.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just dropped absolute knowledge bombs on us with everything you just said. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about and hit on real quick. And the first one was going back to when you were talking about your first year not working with buyers. I think that's super interesting because obviously we all love a good listing. Listings are awesome. Listings are the holy grail, but the more clients and the more transactions you do, the more past clients you have to market to and the more networks you're going to get into. And so what I actually teach is to do as many transactions as you possibly can until you're drowning. And once you're drowning, then you bring on an assistant and you keep going. And so the beautiful thing about working listings and buyers, if you're able to, if your time allows, is you're growing that database like you were talking about. And now you're just scaling because of the amount of deals you're doing. And I like how it goes full circle, where circle prospecting, calling, and door knocking is not glorious. It's not a fun activity. Nobody likes to do it.
People think you do.
Yeah, exactly.
People think we do. It's like, dude, I don't like doing it either.
No, it sucks. It's horrible. And like, I mean, once you're into it, it can be somewhat enjoyable when you're having good conversations, but nobody wants to like be like, okay, I have to go knock doors. Like nobody's like super stoked to do that, but it is the number one way to get business. And that's why for new real estate agents or agents that are struggling for the first 1 or 2 years, that is what you have to be doing consistently to succeed, because
Yeah.
you'll grow your database, you'll have a ton of transactions happen, and that's when then you can start jumping into the other not as labor intensive scaling aspects of prospecting, like client events and networking, sending out mailers, or other activities that market back to your database where you don't have to be actively prospecting, but you're still getting deals. And
Yeah.
so that's the beautiful thing with putting super hard work up front, is you're going to reap the rewards from it forever, because real estate is a compounding business, which is
Yeah.
awesome. And so break down your for sale by owner like roadmap, because it sounds like that's what you crush. You crushed in the beginning, you still crush it today. What were those calls like? What was your follow-up system? How did you get so much business from that?
Yeah. It's really, there's really not many secrets out there in regards to
Yeah.
the my owners. And I kind of use the same concept for all lead sources. And it just, that phone call is not me trying to sell them on me, like, right, that, hey, let me just come out, meet you in person, preview the property, and then I'll just give you some feedback, some tips on what you can do to help, sell the home on your own. And then while I'm there, I'll just share with you our backup plan. Right. So that's really the approach that I take with the for sale by owners, but it's the same approach I take with all lead sources. People kind of forget that the phone call is not the end all. Like, it goes from the phone call to the initial meetup, and that's where the door-to-door comes into play really well, because it has the highest conversion rate, and there's not many agents out there doing it. Cold calling, a lot more agents do it because it lays you away, really. But so that's my initial phone call, and then I focus on just, let me get inside, and then from there I'm building rapport and then seeing what value I could provide them. And then the follow-up is really just on these for sale by owners appointments, I'm providing them so much value to the point where it's like, I even have reviews on my Zillow for sale by owners that ended up selling on their own, and they ended up leaving me a review because the tips I gave them kind of worked.
No
So
way.
yeah, so this is like, that's, I have like 6 or 7 of them. And that's just the method. I'm providing the value, and then in return, I'm following up with them on a weekly basis. And then eventually, like I said, I'm just getting the stragglers. I'm not, like, I'm okay with knowing that there's gonna be these for sale by owners that sell on their own. I'm okay
Yeah.
with knowing there might be for sale by owners that end up going with another agent, because the other agent is just like, oh, I'm gonna do it for 0.5%, whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? And I just accept that not everybody's going to fit my funnel. I think a lot of agents get hung up on trying to convert every single body and force them into the funnel, versus me, I'm just scouring through, and then really I'm just when I first started, it was more of because the job that I had was the IT job. I didn't really get to
Yeah.
meet people that much. So my first goal at that point in time, my first year, was, let me just get to face with as many for sale by owners as possible.
Yeah.
I didn't really even pitch them in the beginning because I wanted to get comfortable being in someone's house. And the next thing was, okay, now I'm going to start going over my presentation aspect of it, right? So I think for people, just it's okay to take it a step at a time. And, even the agents that I've coached, where they had no idea, like, Tane, I don't have anything for the preview appointment. What do I do? I'm like, don't worry about it, man. Just go on the appointment, meet the person, preview the property, have a conversation with them. And there's a couple of agents I've coached where they go there, and literally within week 1 of them calling for sale by owner, and just because they were being natural and being themselves in regards to conversation wise, that's the hardest thing to teach, is the rapport aspect of it. But if you've got that conversational skill, like, there's agents that have literally converted on their first appointment without bringing
Yeah.
anything with them, because they liked the person.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, majority of my business comes from the follow-ups. Like, it's literally, for sale by owners is probably the shortest timeline. I would say it probably takes from initial contact to conversion 3 to 4 months, which people are like, that's short to you. Like, yeah, because when you're dealing with leads like Circle Prospect, then I'm getting them like 8 months out, 6
Yeah.
months out, so that's it's, people forget. I don't know what it is, but people are trying to convert on the initial phone call when they know the stats is like literally 95% plus is going to come from follow-up.
Yeah.
Like, why
And
stress so much about that initial phone call?
Yeah, and the cool part about that is that's almost the exact same for every single prospecting
It
method.
is.
Like door knocking, you could get super lucky. You knock a door, somebody's ready to sell, and you land that. That's luck.
Yep.
But other than that, it's 3 to 4 months before you start to see results from knocking doors. That's just
Yeah.
how it is because it is in the follow-up and it's all about being yourself. I think a lot of people think that there's this like magic way to like sell somebody that will make them sell sooner, which that's
Yeah.
just not true. There's ways
Yeah.
to educate people to be more open to working with you or selling or whatever it may be. But what will truly land you that client is just being honest and real with the person and following up with them for when the time is right. Right. And
Yep.
that's why I love door knocking because you can have a conversation with somebody. You don't have to push them super hard at the door. You can just have a real, like, blunt, honest conversation about, hey, have you thought about selling? What's kind of your motivation, whatever it may be. And then if the time's not right, get their contact information and follow up with them. And if you're top of mind, you're going to be the person that they reach out to, which is phenomenal. I mean, that's amazing. And
Yep.
so what I would love to hear is when you would go on these for sale by owner appointments or you would be making these follow-up calls, what was the value or providing? What was kind of that conversation? What did that look like?
So I future pace it a lot where in regards to where a lot of the for sale by owners, I already know they don't want to work with an agent, they're for sale by owner.
Yeah.
So I'm just really mentioning to them like, hey, I know you have no intentions of working with an agent right now, which is completely respectable. I'm just trying to see if it, 60, 90 days go by and you ran into any issues getting the home sold on your own. At that point in time, would you consider interviewing an agent? Right.
Yeah.
So that I'm more of the backup plan. And then on the appointment, the value proposition I'm giving them is I usually have two pieces of paper where I have 8 tips for sale by owners, and then I print out their Zillow, their Zillow listing, and then go through the description. So I'm kind of like proofreading their ad, I
Yeah.
guess you could say, and then I'm on the appointment, I'm showing them, hey, these are some things that you could do here and there. And then I also bring with me market analysis, so I'll just give them a feedback in regards to what the data shows, right? And then I just plant my backup plan with them after I give them all the value, and I'll just simply transition right into, hey, I know you guys have no intention of selling at all, and that's another thing too. So these appointments that I'm setting, they're going into it knowing that I'm gonna leave them with a backup plan.
Cool.
So, it's not like they're thrown off guard, and this is where the transparency comes into play too, because some agents will pretend like they got a buyer, to go there, whatever it is, right? I'm just very straightforward, and I'm looking for the people that fit my funnel. And if you don't, completely okay. That answer may change though 2 weeks from now when the home still hasn't sold. That's what
Yeah.
people don't think about. So I just go through the backup plan, leave with them, and then I follow up with them on a weekly basis, just checking in, seeing how they're doing. I'll ask them questions like, all right, do you have any plans in regards to, what else you're going to do for marketing wise? They'll usually answer no. Okay, well, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried this? It's literally me just providing them value, and over time, they end up coming back to me because I'm the
Yeah.
only agent that's literally providing them value and not, I'm just here. I'm here if you need me, but if not, completely okay. Like I'll
Yeah.
live, you live, everybody's gonna be okay, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
No, so it sounds like you almost have like a 3-step value add process where you give you're giving a 8-step process for sale by owner. You're then kind of proofreading and critiquing their listing in a sense,
yep,
saying like, hey, these are some things I would change.
yep,
And then you're bringing a market analysis,
yep,
which I mean, that's a ton of value for somebody trying to sell
yep,
their home on their own. I mean, that's massive. And then you just kind of step back and you're kind of like,
yep,
hey, let me know if I can be of assistance in the future. And then you call them every single week and just say, hey, still hasn't sold. Have you tried this? And then the next week, same thing, and over and over and
yep,
over again. And it's just the consistency of doing so, which is amazing. I mean,
yeah,
the proof is in the pudding. That's why you have sold as many homes as you have, is because it's just doing the work. And so
yeah.
how many calls were you making a day, or how many prospecting hours were you doing to sell 33 homes, 78 homes, 60 homes? What did that look like?
Crap, dude, a shit ton of work. So I mean, like literally in my first year, I was I would be cold calling, and it was just FSBOs. So like I was recycling the FSB, because what a lot of people forget about, they just try to call the new leads, but then they don't go back to the black hole, which is the people you couldn't get a hold of.
Yep.
So like my first year, it just literally FSBOs where I'm calling them from. I usually role played in the morning 8 to about 8:30, and then I would just jump on calls, and I'm calling from 8:30 to about like 6 o'clock, and just all FSBOs.
Seriously, all day. You're calling all day.
All FSBOs. Yeah, all FSBOs. And this is where, depending on where you're at, like nowadays, I don't have as much time to be just going, like doing what I used to do. I used to just go on preview appointments just for the heck of it too. Like I can't do that now. I'm a little more selective with where what appointments I go on.
Yeah.
But that was my first year, just literally all day calling from 8:30 in the morning to about 6 o'clock. I would have a hour break, hour and a half break between then. And then my second year was mayhem. My second year, it was similar schedule, but it would be from 8 to about 9 o'clock. I was calling expireds at that point. And then from the expireds, I would go right into the FSBOs. And then from the FSBOs, I was going into the absentees, geo leads, things like that. And then around 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I was doing the follow-ups. 12 to 1, I would have lunch. And then from 1 to 5, 6 o'clock, I was again either making more calls or looking, on an appointment essentially.
Yeah.
And then, what I've come to realize, like nowadays I can, I still try to keep that strategic scheduling, but because some people get really gun ho on like, you got to be calling before a certain amount of time frame. What I've come to realize, like, as long as you can time block like 2-3 hours, you're good. Doesn't really matter when, just do it consistently every single day. And then, because what people don't realize, once you get busier, you got to start servicing these clients, and then you got to do the client retention aspect, trying to get more referrals, right? So there's so much work to do. So, but it's a lot of work. That's for damn sure. But it's well worth it. And now I'm at the point where it's like I'm building out the team, and I want to see the other agents go, grow as well, and then I benefit from it too, right? So right now, even nowadays, my schedule I still come in literally before 8 o'clock. I come in 7:30. That's been like a habit of mine for quite some time. And I used to go to the gym like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Now it's more like 6 o'clock. So there's some stuff that I've dialed back in regards to the morning time. Don't know if it's good or bad, but I kind of enjoy it. And then I'm working. Typically nowadays I'm working till about like 6:37. And then in between that time frame, I'm doing other stuff like creating YouTube content, team building aspect, and then coaching the other agents, things like that. So my production time in regards to new leads have definitely been eaten into. But I still do it consistently for new leads. My goal for new leads, new contacts, is 25 contacts a day. That's what my goal is. Before it used to be 50. So that's so I've dialed back, I've dialed it back, and I'm just focusing more on working on my database nowadays.
Yeah. No, that's great. And that leads me into my next question is, you have now, because I believe that there's a natural progression in a real estate agent's career. There's the grind your face off stage where you have to work like it's a beast, and you just have to do it, and there's no other way of doing it. Then you get to the point where you're drowning, and you're like, either I'm going to have to dial it back to survive or outsource. And I fully recommend outsourcing. It's easy to do, and it makes life so much easier. But so now that you're outsourcing, you free up time to either do more deals or do what you're doing now, which is building a team and coaching agents, which is fantastic. And so tell me what your plan is with your team, what your team offers, and kind of just dive into that for me.
Yeah. So I'm over here in Hampton Roads, Virginia. If anybody listening, of any agents, if you're in the area, I'd love to chat. But the goal for us is I'm still trying to hit that 100 family mark. But it goes back to what you were saying before too. Almost everything works with like everything we do works. You just got to put in the work. A perfect example is I got an agent on my team who was my assistant before, so she's kind of seen me go through it, and she's a phenomenal agent. But she got started in February. Since February, she's already had 5 closings.
Amazing.
And she literally just started diving into prospecting. But what she's doing is she's prospecting buyers. So this is literally everything works. It's just a matter of if you're coachable. Like
Yeah.
there's, I literally similar thing to how I did with sellers. I bought her a list of potential buyers. She's calling through a list of potential buyers, converting them, building up the pipeline. And literally within
Super
that
cool.
time frame, we've closed five, she's closed 5 deals, right?
Yeah.
So the value proposition for us is really I'm in the grind. I'm trying to build the team aspect of it where the people getting in right now, they're going to be able to reap the benefits the most. Because we're building something phenomenal together. And really, if you having someone like myself who's still in it and not, being there where you can kind of see me how I do it as well, right? It helps a ton. That's one thing that she even mentioned to me is like, I think watching you prospect for the past year have really made me understand like there is no, like you can, all this other shiny stuff, YouTube and all that stuff. Sure, it may work, but at the end of the day, if someone told me, hey, I'll give you $10 million if you get me 3 listings this month. The first thing that I'm doing is I'm making a shit ton of phone calls. I'm not making a shit ton of YouTube videos. Like
Yeah.
that's just what it comes down to.
Yep.
So, if you are an agent that needs a coach with the right guidance, then that's where a digital realty team comes into play. And we could definitely chat more, but I built systems in place to essentially help out on the listing side and as well as the buyer side. So
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That one, everything works. And two, so many agents are like, okay, I want to be the social media agent. I want to like do YouTube videos, do Instagram reels, TikTok, whatever it may be. And I'm not knocking that. You can totally
yeah,
get business from that. But if your life depended on it, I'm not making a TikTok to get business. I'm going out and knocking doors and speaking to people face to face. And so it really depends on the velocity you want your career to go on. If you
yeah,
want to build slowly and do it your way, that's a fantastic way of doing it. But if you want to close as much business as you can to grow as quick as possible, it's going to come back to having real life conversations with people. And that's it. I mean, you can't
yeah.
get out of that. That's how you close business. And so, Tane, thank you so much for being on this episode. You have been phenomenal. The last question I'm going to ask you is if you could give one piece of advice to a real estate agent that is struggling, new in the business, or just wants to hear something from a pro, what would you say? What would that advice be?
Yeah, I mean, to kind of go off of what you mentioned with the social media aspect, right? Like it works. But you kind of have to like especially if you're a new agent and you're struggling, you need to be real with where you're at in your business pipeline, I guess you could
Yep.
say, right? Because it's like in the beginning, like you've got all the time in the world, like you really do. The only thing most people lack are funds in the beginning, and they start seeing all these shiny objects where everybody's giving them the solution. If you run Facebook ads, run YouTube ads, what are the easiest way out? And then next thing you know, they're out of money. And it's like, you had all the time in the world. Why not just dive into, because you eventually have to get on the phone with the person anyways, or
Yep.
meet that person anyways, right?
Yep.
So for agents out there, like just understand that like where you're at, like I use social media in my business. Like that's not like it's no brainer. You're going to use it. But I also understood that I had all the time in the world. So I'm going to go outbound prospecting because that's what's worked. And then as I got more and more busier, and then where I was able to build my business, I started dabbling into social media aspect. And I think that part is like super important because there's so many, I guess you could say, shiny objects out there for agents where
Yeah.
they're just getting distracted by a possible solution, and like I said, like we've talked about, we don't like cold calling, we don't like door knocking, but we do it because it works, has been proven
Yep.
time and time again. And these social media solutions out there, some of them even forget to mention, like the search results for people looking to move to Texas or Florida is going to be very different from people looking to move to Hampton Roads, Virginia, or
Yeah.
in North Dakota, or like you can post a crap ton of content all you want, but if the search results for homes and whatever state you're in is not there, then it's going to affect you,
Yeah.
right? So for agents, you just need to be real with yourself, where you're at in your business pipeline and the work that you need to put in. And also be real, when you're not getting the results, are you actually putting in the work, right? Like I've had
Love that.
agents before that think they're making a crap ton of phone calls for some odd reason, but then thank goodness for auto trackers. Like, and we go over the data and like, dude, you think you did a lot of work, bro? You made like 300 phone calls this month. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
at 7,000 phone calls. Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing? Right. So some agents, I don't know what it is. They kind of just get stuck in their ego where, yeah, you just need to be real with yourself. And even myself nowadays, I'll catch myself where it's like, I do have enough time, like my one thing for people out there, that's what my assistant hit my timer. But so I have this even for me,
There
like,
you go.
so I just jumped on this about like a month or two ago because I kept coming up with the excuse, like, I don't have enough time to do some of these things my coach is telling me to do. And I started like actually timing my prospecting time. Was like, holy shit, like I'm getting sidetracked by a bunch of bullshit all over the place because I wasn't hitting my 2 hours a day that I committed to. And if you're
Yeah.
struggling with that, just get yourself a legitimate timer, and then you'll come to realize like you're wasting time somewhere. And
Yeah.
it's crazy. You need to track your numbers, and you'll be able to kind of go back and know what you need to do.
That's incredible advice. Get the timer, be real with yourself, and just put in the work, which is amazing. And so, Tane, thank you so much for being on this episode. I appreciate your time. If anybody is looking to join a team in his area, look up Digital Realty Team, reach out to Tane, reach out to me, and I'll put you in touch with him. Thanks so much, Tane. And we will catch you in the next episode of Real Estate Agent School Podcast.
Sounds good. If you want to reach out, you could shoot me a call or text me 757-277-3029, or just find me on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Tane, Tein, and last name Law, HLWA.